Hi, good morning. It's a lovely morning. Well, in fact, actually, it's pouring with rain here in Preston, but
It's
not
good.
to worry. This is Deborah, and this is
Norma.
Yay. Hi guys. How
Right.
you doing? And what we'd love to do is looking at caring for those who care for others, which is so important. We all have busy lives, and we're all trying to get everything sorted and caring for others, and then all of a sudden we realize what's left for me.
Mm.
And that I know has been a big thing for me. I cared for my elderly mother for about 10 years. And yeah, it was a challenge. So yeah, to anybody out there who's caring for other people, or whether you've got a team, you're at work, or you've got an elderly relative or a child that needs caring for, this is what this is all about. So welcome, lovely to have you. And today we're going to talk about overcoming limiting beliefs, because I don't know about everybody, but I know that from my childhood, a lot of my whole makeup was limiting beliefs, and unconsciously, I think
Mm.
it it affected my thoughts and my judgments and my actions. And I'm doing a lot behind trying to work out what those limiting beliefs are so that I can react in a different way to them. Because, or I don't know who said this first, but isn't it the definition of insanity is if you keep doing the same
Mm.
thing, you're not going to get different results.
Yeah, true.
so, so
So
yeah,
true.
yeah. So Normie, yeah, I'd love to hear a bit about what you do, and how perhaps you even discover what your limiting beliefs are.
Well, like I say, Deborah, if you keep doing what you're doing and keep getting what you get, somewhere along the line, you realise that you have to break that cycle because you've got no growth. You've literally got like an ever decreasing circle because each time you do something and come back round and you've not got the same result, you just tend to go a bit lower because again, I've tried and again, I'm not right. So we have to look and think, actually, what am I trying? And what have I tried, and try something differently and get a different result, which then will bring it up a bit because life isn't really a circle, it's a spiral, and we can spiral up and we can spiral down. So it's looking at where we are on that spring, you know, like the things that go down the stairs, the slinkies. Life can feel like that when it gets out of control, can't it? So we need to look at what are we doing and why are we doing it, because we don't want to do that. It's really difficult though when you have got the limiting belief, because that circle is it's basically saying to you, you're going round in a circle, you cannot get better, you're not worthy of getting better. It's, it's for everybody else, not for you. Money's not for you, growth isn't for you, excitement's not for you. You know, why should you have a big house? You shouldn't don't deserve a big house and a car or a good holiday or whatever your dream is. It might just be walking on the beach with your dog. If that's your dream, it's not for you. So we don't do it, we stay away from it. We tend to stay in that safe space because the body's want us to be safe. So, I'm doing this, we're not going to move. And that's another difficult bit in your mind that we have to get past is your own mind telling you we're safe, we're okay. So I'm not going to try, or I'm going to keep trying the same in the hope that external factors will change and I will get a different result, but they won't. External factors will keep changing, but it has to come from within. And it is really difficult, isn't it, to break something you've believed all your life or felt all your life, because they're feelings, aren't they? Your beliefs are your feelings that are causing your actions. So it's like, well, it's just not for me. And the number of times people will do it. I mean, I used to run a body groove sessions and stuff, and people will come in and they say, "Oh, I can't do it. I'm not coming because of this," and they'd really love to. And I think it's so sad when you see somebody walk away from something that they really would just like to do, even if it's a bit of dance, because they're so self-conscious and they don't feel that they fit in, or that I shouldn't do that, I can't do that exercise and have fun. And you're like, come on, just start with one. So yeah, to me, it's just finding where they come from and dealing with that. We've done inner child work, and we've done shadow work and things like that. But it's that all links in together, doesn't it? So your limiting beliefs are born from them traumas and from them things that, and sometimes it doesn't even have to be that traumatic. It can just be something as much as you don't fit in with them friends, and you never fit in with friends. You'll never have friends. I mean, that is traumatic, really, isn't it? Because we feel lonely and sad. But um, yeah, it's just trying to find where it came from, where it started, and look at what was happening in your life at the time, and then nurture that part and grow it from that. That you don't, we all deserve the abundance we're born with. Our birthright is abundance. It's not to suffer through life. I mean, we do, because obviously that's life, but you know, to grow and to learn that we're all worthy of something, and we can be ourselves. We can really be ourselves. You know, I mean, I used to love gymnastics and running, and my mum and dad would say, "Stop it," especially my dad. "Stop it, you'll hurt yourself." He was coming from a place of keeping me safe, but that'll never get you anywhere. Well, you never know. Could have been an Olympic gymnast. Because of my limiting beliefs I had. Well, you know, I'm like, oh God, exercise, it's not good for me. I won't be safe. I'm like, oh, what? So yeah,
Yeah.
it's really tricky, isn't it? Really tricky to get around.
Yeah, and I'm doing a lot of work around money at the moment, and interestingly enough, I'm like, where does this block with money come from?
Mm,
Because I can get it, but somehow it slips through my fingers when I've got it. It's like it doesn't stick with me. The energy is not right for it to accumulate with me. And I've been doing some really in-depth work on this. And you're right, you said something that your beliefs come from almost the unconscious mind or subconscious mind. I know we can go into two sort of
mm,
like that, but I kind of use those interchangeable. Um, and it triggers a feeling. And as you're right, the body then wants to protect you. So dependent upon
mm,
what that feeling is, if you're feeling anxious or you're feeling fearful or you're feeling a sense of loss or guilt, it will try and take you away from the fact that sometimes you need to push through it so you don't.
mm,
I've in the past not not worked through it, and now it's just like, as you say, recognizing that and paying it attention and thanking it for coming up and
mm,
saying, I understand that you were here as an emotion to protect me,
mm,
and I can understand where that came from, because I was kicked out of the house at 17 without any money at all. I had £5 in my purse back in like the mid 80s. And I had nothing.
mm,
And I had to then spend a number of years on people's sofas. So I was technically homeless. But before that, I always heard my parents row massively about money, massive, massive, massive friction around money. And that I saw my father make a fortune and lose
mm,
a fortune, make another fortune, lose that. And at that age, he just gave up, and it sent him a bit bonkers. And it was just like, oh, I'm carrying on
mm.
a family
Yeah.
tradition in that I can make it, and then it just seems to slip through my fingers. And I think that conditioning as a kid has limited my belief that money is for me.
Mm,
And the other thing is, I've always been all right. And the hardest moments in my life, as I say, sleeping on people's sofas and stuff, I was all right. I was protected. And so that feeling when it comes up usually then prompts the wrong response from me, because I can see this pattern emerging. And as they say,
mm,
so within, so without, I manifest this around me.
mm,
So what I'm now looking, you mentioned things, the belief system comes up in a feeling, and then I react to that feeling
mm.
by an action.
Yeah.
Now, what I'm doing is I'm changing that feeling and I'm doing a different action. So when I see money going out of my bank account, which we all do, instead of
Mm,
having this feeling of, oh, you can't swallow, you feel anxious, the chest tightens up, any form of lava's gone. Now what I'm doing is saying, great, because actually it's helping more people to put
mm,
roofs over their heads, to pay their mortgages and rent, to give them their life of abundance, etc. So I'm actually thanking it for going out. And when I receive money from a client, I'm looking at that and I'm saying, thank you, because what it
mm.
was hoarding it. I wanted to hoard
Yeah.
it, never wanted, and it was just like,
Yeah.
what you
Totally get it.
resist, yeah, what you resist
Mm,
persists.
mm,
So I've now surrendered to the ebb and flow of money. Well, I'm surrendering. I haven't quite got there yet. And it was all about that fact of can I have a different relationship with money, to be really grateful without wanting to hold on to it, because the more you hold on to something, I think the more it goes. I've had relationships like that where I've been clinging on with my fingernails, and it goes because either I've been too needy, codependent, putting too much pressure on somebody, doing things that I don't realize that I'm saying, and still expecting that person to stick around, not letting their freedom so they feel chained. And so now I'm saying, right, money, come and go, come and go. You're meant to ebb and you're meant to flow. But when you flow out, it's gratitude, so helping others. And when it comes in, it's wonderful gratitude for its nourishing and helping me. And so what I'm thinking is, once I've got that mindset altered and taken different reaction to it, I will get, by definition, a different result.
Yeah,
because it
if
is,
if you change your action, it's a universal law, isn't it? You have to get a different result. Yeah, I mean, the money blocks, things like that, when we've watched the parents do it and they lose it, we don't really know where theirs come from, because in them days they didn't really look into things like we do now, which is a shame because we do things differently from then. But when we cling on to money, if you look at your times in your life, like you're saying, on your own sofas, and when you're at the poorest times, and in times when you're really stuck, you didn't need money to be safe. So the belief that you need money to be safe, so I cling on to it so I'm safe, isn't an actual truth, is it? Because you didn't need the money to be safe, which we think we do. But I mean, I always believed, and I had 3 children on my own, and sometimes I didn't have much financial money there, actual cash there, or real money, but I had everything else I needed. So when we look at like abundance in lots of different ways, friendship, support, guidance, health, money's just a small one little brick of a wall, isn't it, really? But money always came whenever I needed it. So I think, well, I don't know, I'm going to do the shopping next week, and then something had happened, and I'd be like, oh. And even recently, you're thinking, oh, well, I need to get an extra like 200 quid, I know I'm going to get it from. And then the phone will go, well, can you do some raking cards now? Oh, yeah, okay. And things pop in, and you think, well, where did that come from? Just little bits come in, because I'm not structured going, oh, where am I going to get it from? How am I going to get it? What if I don't get it? Because that's when the fear comes in, is what if I don't get it? What if it doesn't come? And then when it's like, oh, I'm not going near that energy. I've always been told in the last few years since I got on my spiritual thing, that money, really, if you treat it like your best friend, it will stay. Because would you stay with somebody who was, treating you badly, trying to lock you up somewhere and didn't let you flow, and didn't, it's an energy, isn't it? Should go through us, back to us, and come from different places in ever increasing abundance type of thing. And once we get that, that sort of flow and that mantra in the body, we can do it. And there's another way, actually, it's come to my mind before, of unblocking, is a book called Tapping into Wealth. Now, I can't remember who wrote it, but I can let you know after this. It's Tapping into Wealth, and it's EFT, where you tap on all the points and speak and all this. And I actually did that. There's a lady called oh God, I've forgotten her name now, Anya Berry, and she does tapping. But yeah, this Tapping into Wealth is a really good book from undoing blockages. But be ready for it, because you think it's just a block book, and I'm just going to tap a bit, and you release the energies. And there was 2 occasions where it talked about sort of like dark money, where bad money energy. So, like having debts and not paying them, or giving out to people and not receiving it back. And that's blockages. We don't see it. I mean? We just don't see that they're actually blockages to our flow, because it's gone down little dead ends. And them ones actually tripped me up a bit, because I didn't realize that was in me. But it's, like, again, it's putting the work in, isn't it? Finding what's right to get you through it, acknowledge it first, look at the different ways of getting through it, and give them a try. But it's the scary bit then, when it comes, something will come and test it. And we know, Deborah, about getting tested, don't we? Because boy, do we have tests on this internet.
yeah.
And it's signs from the universe, that's not right for now, that's not for you, whatever. But keep going, keep finding somewhere or somehow that, and work on that blockages. Because if you keep trying to do it, somewhere along the line, the universe will go, do you know what, just keep trying, just give us something that'll break it through, and get on that journey, and then you get your freedom. And again, I mean, you're very self-aware, aren't you? So, which is great, as you go on in life, when you see that habit crop up again, You'll think, why is my money slowed down? Why am I not getting this and that? Oh, I've slipped back. And then you bring yourself forward again. You know, we go spiral up instead of spiraling down because we break that one circle. And it's just like a little, you get a key ring and you slip a key on. It's like a circle with 2 bits. Just pull it out. You know, like that. And we start moving then, physically moving just a little tiny bit. You know, I mean, I had some money sent to me from, it was on a regular payment, to be honest, from someone. And I didn't really want it. It wasn't for me. It caused a massive row in my family, which to me, I'd rather have no money and happy family. So I just gave it away because I wasn't allowed. It was due to something to do with police. I wasn't allowed to resist the payment, but I didn't want the payment because it brought up a lot of stuff in me from probably 30 odd years ago. And I just didn't need it in my life. It cropped up through lockdown because they started going over old cases, found out I owed this money. I was owed the money, and then wrote to me and said they're going to, you know, chase this other person. I said, just leave it. And they wouldn't because it was a legal case. And they started sending me this money. So I thought, right, fine. And it's like £20 a month or something like that, but it's for a lot of years. And I'll probably never see the end of it, but I do not want it. So when I get that money, because to me it's bad energy, it's from a place I didn't want to know, but I'm basically forced to take it by the law. So I'm like, I don't want it. So I do things like I'll pop it in a library book, or I'll give it to a homeless person on the street. Or if I see like somebody walking along and, you know, I think, oh, hang on a minute. And, you know, like a mum with a couple of kids on a hot day. And I go, oh, excuse me, love, you dropped this. And so I didn't drop it. And I'm like, yeah, just sure it come out of your bag because I don't want it. It's going somewhere good. So I've changed the energy on that money, because it's little drip feeding it places, but it goes to someone else because it's coming through me to them. And I'm changing the energies it comes through me because I'm not allowed by law to resist it, which I find really, really crazy because I don't want it. But yeah, so it is finding them ways, because if I got it and kept it, what would I do with it? If I got it and used it for me, everything I bought with it would feel horrible. So I just have to move it on. So I change it from that bad energy to good energy. And once a month, I get the £20 and I go and do something. And I try and, so if anyone's got any crazy ideas for the next 10 years that I can do, because I've got, I think, 13 years for it to come to me, which isn't an awful lot of money, a couple of thousand, but, you know, it's one of them. I'd be quite happy to know of anyone that could think, oh, I know what I'd do with it if I could have £20 to surprise somebody with. Because I like it to be nice. I've even put through a letterbox once and just walked away. I thought, I don't even know what's happening to that. So, and I just trust it's not going to cause an argument anywhere. So,
Oh,
yeah,
oh,
but
that's wonderful.
yeah, but
Yeah,
it is just getting away from them blocks, isn't it? Just doing, you know, look at it and think, what can I do with it? You know, yeah.
yeah. And this is the thing for me, that scarcity mindset. I can understand where it came from, and it
Mm,
was valid at the time. It just doesn't serve me anymore. And I've got to get out of that for it then to create the life lessons and the
mm,
abundance that I know were always something that were available to me. And, you know, in some ways, because the way in which we're raised and the belief systems that are put in our family, and often for, you know, for good things, this
mm.
can be multi-generational.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and so to break free of that is no small thing, because we can be going generations back and probably all done for the right reasons. It's absolutely no problem. But
Mm,
ultimately, is it the best thing that we can do with this energy? And so
yeah.
limiting beliefs, um, interestingly enough, just again from personal experience, because I don't mind sharing about, you know, me as a person on my journey. I think this is what it's all about, really, is to help somebody else or other people that think, oh yeah, I identify with that. Is for many years I had a problem speaking to people I didn't know, or even speaking at all, because the way to get through my life was to be quiet,
Mm,
don't get noticed, etc. And one of the things which I've realized now, because of my calling and wanting to help people, well, if you don't say anything to anybody, how's the message going to get out?
yeah.
So, so oddly enough, um, it happened organically. And here's a limiting belief that I didn't necessarily have to sit down and really work hard on, is that I never thought that my voice mattered. I never thought that it counted. I didn't have the
Mm,
self-worth that I now attribute to myself, because I spent the large majority of my life trying to people please everybody else, get under the radar, not be
mm,
noticed, etc., in case something awful was going to happen to me. awful things seem to happen to me anyway. So that was a bit weird. But anyway, so it didn't work very well, that philosophy. But interestingly enough, over time, I just naturally was imbued, I was given this extra power to be comfortable at speaking to people.
Mm.
Now, yeah, what was it? On Saturday, I went into a shop and there was a lady on one of the, one of those mobility scooters, and it was kind of drizzly outside. And she was sat outside the shop window while I was getting my goods. And I said to the lady at the counter, "Does that lady need anything? Because it's quite a big shop window." And she said, "Oh, that's the lady. She won't come in, but I go out there and see what she'd like,
Oh.
what have you," which I thought was very nice. So anyway, the lady looked quite sad. I mean, it wasn't particularly nice weather, but she just generally looked quite sad. So I just had this thought when I got my shopping to go out and just say hello to her.
Mm.
And that to me before would have been a bridge too far. I couldn't have done it
Mm.
because of my, I suppose, my shyness or my lack of confidence. And this time I went out and I looked her in the eyes and I went, "Are you okay?"
Oh,
And she looked at me and she didn't change. She went, "Yeah." And I went, "Oh,
good.
well, you'd never guess it's the British summertime, as we do Brits,
Yeah,
talking about,
yeah, definitely.
because I
Talk about
thought,
the
well,
weather.
I didn't even think about it as an icebreaker. I didn't even think. It just kind of, the words came out of my mind. And she's like, "Oh," and I could tell she'd got a Scottish accent.
Mm.
And I go up to Edinburgh quite a bit. And I said to her, "Oh, do I hear a Scottish accent?"
Mm.
And then she
That's lovely.
started to engage with me. And you know what? We were chatting outside in the drizzly rain for about half an hour.
Oh, bless her.
And that
Yeah.
lady is just phenomenal. And we were talking about this and that and her time up in Scotland. We talked about her family up in Scotland. I mean, it was just so lovely.
Yeah.
And I felt really connected with her. Now, because of that, opening up that limiting belief that I had, that my voice
Mm.
didn't count, that my voice didn't matter, that I wasn't worthy enough to have people interested in what I was going to say. Because I've been practicing that for quite a while now and I feel much more comfortable. Because I was able to interact with that lady from an authentic position, I think it made all the difference in the world.
Yeah.
And that's not
See,
being
see.
arrogant. It was just,
No, no, not at all.
looked and her eyes lit up and
Yeah.
she was engaging and her head came up. And I just thought, hopefully that's made a positive difference to that person who, I can't go into her head because I'm not in there, but it just looked as if she was in quite
Mm.
a dark
Yeah.
place at the time.
Yeah. The thing is, Deborah, I mean, for things like that, we look at people, don't we? And you probably recognize on a soul level and in your brain, obviously, not daft, but on a soul level, spiritual level, that, you know, that might have been your future self. This is what I just pick up from this, is that could have been your future self where you've been stood like that and you still stay silent all your life. And then when you're chatting to her, it's given her that confidence of you, really, to actually speak to her in the first place. It was putting her first. And I've done this. I've been, well, I can't say this. What about me? What if people say this? What if people say that? But when you genuinely go out to help somebody else, we forget about ourselves, don't we? And we put ourselves out of the way, and then that opens up, and that's probably changed well, massively changed. Like definitely a day, if not the future, because next time when somebody speaks to her, she'll remember that positive experience and speak back to him, and not, because a lot of people said, "Hello, are you okay?" And she went, "Oh yeah." "Oh, okay," and walked away. But because you stayed and persisted, then she's had that experience as well. And I mean, and you've helped her, but you never know how far you've helped somebody, how much you helped somebody do. You know what I mean? We've these stories of people that were just going to commit suicide, and somebody said, "How are you doing today? How are you really doing today? And what's wrong?" Or just because they just connect with it, they just feel that energy, and we shouldn't walk away from that energy, should we? So when you've seen that person, like you've gone and spoke to her, but it's putting, when you put yourself out the way and your feelings, and I might not be good enough, and who listen to me, and I'm invisible, and I'm not wanted, and I'm not needed, and all them things we tell each other. When you think that person needs connection, I mean, obviously we're not stood there going, but naturally thinks that person needs connection, push you out the way and go and speak to them. What a lovely thing that is. It's beautiful, isn't it, just to be able to do that. I did this with, I I had a blockage over speaking, believe it or not. I know it's difficult to believe. And I went to a public speaking academy, an elite training. It was 2 days, and it was the biggest self-development I've ever done, ever in my life. And I literally went in, and it was all about me. Poor me, this happened to me. What's a shame for me? What a shame for me. And I don't know what happened in them 2 days, but I came out thinking I am going to help people, and and it doesn't matter about me, but not doesn't matter about me as in I'm not good enough. I'm plenty good enough, and I just hadn't realised. And this guy, Andy Hamilton, his name is absolutely fantastic. He I don't even know what he said on that day. I just don't know what he said to me, but I come out thinking, why have I been in the way of me all this time? I've got the biggest, loudest voice going, and I never shut up, as you know. I literally can talk all day and night. And I go places and people are intrigued. I went to the care show the other day, people listening, getting asked for meetings outside of, which I have to follow up on this week. And I thought, oh, this is easy. But people are looking at me saying, how can you do that? How can you just, I don't know. I just put me out the way. And that's what you did. You just subconsciously, now you've grown, and that growth spiritually and everything, you put you out the way, and you're making progress for other people. And that's just amazing, because as we say, this is why we're doing this. And this is what we're both about, isn't it? Is putting them people not before us, because obviously we have to look after ourselves first, which is what we're saying, is take care of you before you take care of others. So that brings us right back to the title of caring for them that care for others. We'll help and support you, care for you while you're looking after people. And you can get to that stage where, because you could have gone home and thought, oh, I wish I'd have spoke to that woman, but I couldn't. And it wasn't about you anymore. And that is a massive, well done.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I think it's lovely just to do that. And I don't actually think you realise just how big of a thing and how good it is, because you're just like, lovely Deborah.
Oh, bless you. Thank
and
you.
I just think, just really think,
Oh.
it's massive. It's the first step, isn't it, on that journey of, and the more of them you do, the more it'll be, and the easier it'll get, and your limiting belief they just fade away. They just fade away into the universe. It changes back to white light, comes back as greater good. I'm convinced of that. In normal land, that's what happens.
Yeah, well, and it's, again, I've got this feeling of I did the right thing, and it's not an egotistical feeling. I didn't do it to feel good, just
naturally
that it needed to be done. But ultimately, again, that's just one example of the many things that I've been working on. And I think sometimes when we're busy, I classify like all our busyness and looking at social media or mainstream media or anything like that, it creates white noise in our brains. And this is why I think it's important to try and take ourselves away from, or me away from, like, the hubbub and everything sometimes, just to be quiet. Some people might call that meditation, whatever your word for it is just to be sitting with me. Took me a long time to be able to sit with me, because I didn't really like the person that I was sitting with, to be fair. But as I say, after this breakdown, and the catalyst to change, and realizing that I was fine, I was good, I was a nice person, I wasn't horrible, because I think intrinsically we're all decent people. It's just our belief systems sometimes get the upper hand. For me, I used to judge a lot. I used to judge people a lot. I do see them physically and I'd make a judgment, which I now know to be so not me like that anymore. And basically the judgment was telling me a bit about myself, and that I didn't really love myself enough. Didn't love everything about me enough. So now if I see something that triggers me, or I'm making a judgment that's negative, I'm thinking, right, what does that show up in me? Do I have a limiting belief about taking others' opinions? Do I have a limiting belief about how I perceive somebody should look? Do I have a perceived belief of the clothes that people wear? I've got a thing about, I don't know, it's footwear. Honestly, it's just ridiculous. And I used to have a thing that if somebody come into a business meeting wearing anything other than traditional sort of like office shoes and stuff like that, I've been making a judgment. And now it's just like, who cares what you've got on your feet? It
I
doesn't,
know that your footwear doesn't,
matter.
it doesn't matter to the contribution you're going to make, does it really?
Really, it could be a pair of flip-flops.
Yeah.
It's absolutely just not now on my agenda, but it used to be.
Mm,
And I'm just like, why was that? And there was an element of myself that I thought I had to be in a persona, because I had
mm,
lots of different ways of being in the world because I didn't know who I was. And now it's just like the one thing I think that this has given me, overcoming these, and there are a lot, and I've still got a lot to work on, and it's always a different level. But overcoming those limiting beliefs has actually given me more compassion
mm,
to accept for myself,
yeah.
because I understand it's okay. I'm not a horrible person for thinking that or having reacted in such a way, because it's a limiting belief. But now I've got the opportunity to work on it. Once I'm working on it,
Mm,
knowingly now, I can't be doing the same things as perhaps I did before,
mm,
because I know better now.
yeah.
So that's when I should catch myself out if I'd worked on it. But there was a lady out the other day, and she shouted at me because my dog, at that point, I've got to keep her on the lead now, bless her, because she's, her little nose is like, she wants to sniff everything. So, but this lady was jogging, and she really wasn't, my dog wasn't near her, but she said expletives at me, and it wounded me. And I thought, okay, well, one, now I've looked at it and I thought that lady must have been in a really bad place
Mm,
for such an overreaction on something that was so small. And for me to take it, well, somebody's words and actions only become relevant if I've seen an area of lack or of not being complete in myself.
mm,
Because if I said, oh, my dog was a cat, or somebody saying, stupid cat, I go, well, they're mad. It's not a cat, it's a dog, you
yeah.
know. But when there's something that's closer to the truth, if I internalize that and I bring it out, and there's a limiting belief again, I'm not good enough. I just absorbed everything because it was a mode of communication that I'm very used to. Now it's just like, oh, interesting. If I had a different response to that, i.e., not feeling shame, guilt, what have you, and just go,
Mm,
that person didn't have any reason to say that. I'm not even going to
mm,
think about it. That then has that energy to go out in a good way
mm,
and help heal that person, perhaps, rather than
yeah.
internalizing it.
Yeah.
I could have got a little loving thing, like maybe the lady by the shop in the on the scooter, is that love
Mm,
then helps to energize somebody else.
yeah.
If
Yeah,
that makes
I really, yeah, I do believe that when we do positive, compassion, care, and love, concern for others, it does improve everything in the world. It does like transmute negativity or lack into good. And when we're born blank, basically, aren't we, with two fears, which is um falling and loud noises. That's what we're born with. That's how we're born, and everything else is programmed into us. So, like, as we get older and these things are taking root in us, it is difficult to change them. But once you acknowledge it, change it, and then, like people say, oh, just do it, just do it. It's hard to just do it when you can't just do it. But the thing is, once you start doing things like yourself, like you start doing these things, you do find yourself just doing it. Somebody says to me, do you want to speak on something? I mean, straight, yeah, where am I going? I mean, sometimes I'd never go anywhere, didn't want to do anything. Now I'll go to the opening of an envelope. Seriously, I will. I'll go anywhere because I just think I'll go and I'll speak and they can't shut me up what to say, but it's changes, doesn't it? And them little bits, and it gets momentum. And then before you know it, you're looking back thinking, oh, yeah, I used to be like that. Because we have these conversations, I look back and I think, oh, that's what I've done. And sometimes I've gone down little paths and it's been a dead end. I've tried something, it doesn't work. And then I've tried something, it did work. I've tried things and I've stopped using them because it scared me a bit because they were working and I've thought, I don't really want to do it. But then I've persisted with it. So yeah, it is worth it, isn't it? Again, it's like we always say, it's worth the effort, it's worth the work. Um, and limiting beliefs are just that. They're beliefs that are limiting us, they're stopping us, they're holding us back from basically our birthright, which is to have the best life we can have and to help others and to grow. Because that's what we're here for. There's no point in being here if we don't grow. And we do grow through pains, growing pains. We do grow through things like that, but we grow through joy as well. So I'd say to anybody that does listen to this to make sure you balance it. If you get some pain, go and find some good, basically. But the right kind of good, because we've had good in our lives that we thought was good that really was a mask and a cover up and it's, what do you call it, like a coping strategy, wasn't it? That was the wrong strategy. And we said on the other podcast that things we've done and what's happened to us, and we've come away from it. And I think when you do things like that, we do need to say sometimes, well done me, well done you, well done us, well done anybody that tries, because that it is worth it, isn't it? There's lots of help and support, so.
Oh yeah, and I absolutely agree with you. It's the trying. It's the willing to put myself into a position feeling uncomfortable and sitting with that feeling of being uncomfortable and to try. And I learned to swim very late. And I know the reason why is that when I was away in the Isle of Wight with my parents, I had this big Donald Duck rubber ring where I was floating I was sat on the top holding on to his neck, and I fell through the bit in the middle.
Oh.
Because I was so small. And of course, my parents looked round, saw the empty Donald Duck rubber ring, and my dad scooped me up from the bottom of the thing. I don't think it was very deep, but as a kid, you don't, water's water, isn't it? You can drown in an inch of water. So I was scooped up and I was taken out, and I was towed off because, again, that was their panic.
Well,
was told off for
true,
having this experience and frightening the life out of them. I remember that as a very small child being yelled at. And then I was put on the beach on my own, told not to move, do not get away from that beach. It's dangerous out there. You should never go out. And you sit there now because you've been mucking about, and that's your punishment. And guess what? I never wanted to swim again.
Yeah.
And I didn't learn to swim until I was in my late 20s, when a boyfriend at the time, we went on holiday and he chucked me in the pool and didn't realize I couldn't swim.
Oh, ouch.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I'm not a strong swimmer now, but that limiting belief that I couldn't swim took a long time. And I still don't like the water necessarily, but I was swimming the other day and I'm like, oh yeah, well, I can do this, it's no problem. But that's what happens with limiting beliefs, is that I never used to do anything that involved swimming, and mates used to go swimming. No, I won't bother. Or, let's go on holiday and let's all bounce in the pool. No, you're
that's
all
it. It's all
right.
that fun you're missing, isn't it? All that fun and joy and connection that you're missing. And it was from the punishment you got, wasn't it? Not the fact you fell through the hole. It's a punishment.
Yeah.
It was your parents' fear that put that belief into you, not what happened to you. Because if they'd have gone, oh, look, you fell through the hole, get back on it.
Yeah.
That'd have been it. And God knows if it had been anywhere doing anything.
So, it's one of them things. Don't blame yourself for the limiting belief. But if it's coming up and it's not serving you anymore, and you think your life could be a little bit different, better, then, as we say, just give it a try to do something else, but acknowledge it for what it is, because it's trying to help you often, but sometimes without it realizing it, it's, as I say, it's limiting us, and it's not so great. So we've not got that long left on the timer, but is there anything else that you'd like to say?
Just thank you very much, Deborah, for a lovely conversation. And I think we've covered quite a bit of stuff in there, really. And I've just sat here and I've got all these things going through my mind that I was limited with, that I've done, that I've not actually gone back and said well done to myself for. So, but not, like you say, not in an ego way, but in a, wow, I did actually do it, because I think I've got on that level that I'm just doing them automatically, and I work through things faster, because that's what happens when you start doing anything, isn't it? If you do a 5K, you'll do it faster next time, and quicker, and you recognize things sooner. So yeah, I think we need to all acknowledge the work we do for ourselves, because it does impact on others. And
Lovely.
if working on me helps others, then it's not going to stop.
Well, goodbye everybody. We'll go before the recording stops, and see you again soon. Bye now.
Bye.